How's it going, everyone? Mamaki coming back at you once again. And today we're going to be discussing the blockbuster crossover event, Night of the Owls. Let's get into it. I just want to preface this video by saying there's like 11 writers on this book, easily twice as many artists. I'm going to give credit to the creators when I touch upon the title. Like, for instance, All Star Western here is written by, Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray. When I cover All-Star Western, they'll get the credit for their tie-in issue. Before I hear, just for the sake of brevity and to keep things rolling, I'm going to leave out all the creators' names. They know who they are. And like I said, I will give them the credit when I touch upon the books that have the tie-ins when I get there. Hopefully that made sense. But like I said, we're starting off with All-Star Western. We have a Talon, an assassin of the Court of Owls. He's in the Big Easy, and he ends up killing Gotham's head of sanitation. Meanwhile, Jonah Hex makes his way back to Gotham. This issue is like the least tie-in worthy of all the tie-ins. I don't know why they bothered. I guess maybe because the Owls were technically active back in the 1800s there. But it doesn't really tie in with the main book in any way that I could tell. Maybe the Talon comes back and fights another member of the Bat family, but it wasn't explicitly pointed out. So to me, it's just like a waste of a tie-in, but let's keep rolling. Next issue, Batwing. Batwing is in town at a Batman Incorporated gala when the Night of the Owls event kicks off. The Talons have a hit list of influential people all around Gotham, and their target this time is none other than Lucius Fox. Batwing defeats a Talon by blowing off its arms and saving Lucius Fox. The next issue, Batgirl. Batgirl battles a Talon at the GCPD. She defeats the Talon by launching her off the rooftop into a bomb fastened to a balloon of the Talon's own making. The next issue is Batman. The Court of Owls, they send their assassin Talons to Wayne Manor to kill Bruce Wayne, only to discover that Bruce Wayne is in fact Batman. The next issue, Batman and Robin. Robin is sent to protect a military general that the Talons and the Court of Owls want dead. He defeats the Talon by beheading him. The next issue is Nightwing. Nightwing defends the mayor in City Hall and ends up defeating the first Talon sent after the mayor, only for a second Talon to show up, only for William Cobb to show up, who is a relative of Dick Grayson. The next issue, Red Hood and the Outlaws. Red Hood, making a pit stop in Gotham, ends up overhearing the call from Alfred that calls all Bat family members into action to help protect the city. So he decides to lend a gun to the cause. He and the rest of his outlaws end up taking out / defending Mr. Freeze. The next issue is Batman. Batman fights off the Talons that were sent to Wayne Manor, and he decides he's going to go and hit the city. First stop, he's going to go to Arkham Asylum, but that's skipped over in this issue and covered in the issue of Detective Comics. This issue instead depicts him going to check on Lincoln March, the mayoral candidate with whom Bruce Wayne was having a bit of a friendship with there in the main Batman title. March gets killed by a Talon right in front of Bruce Wayne, as Batman was too late to arrive on the scene. The next issue is Detective Comics, and it depicts the events alluded to in the previous issue where Batman goes to Arkham Asylum so he can protect Dr. Jeremiah Arkham. The Talons, of course, attack, and Dr. Jeremiah, he ends up letting the inmates loose on the Talons. Batman, of course, makes the save. Next issue is Birds of Prey. Batgirl, she helps the Birds of Prey defeat a Talon, and that's essentially the issue. The next issue is Nightwing, following up from the previous Nightwing issue, wherein Nightwing ends up defeating William Cobb and learns more about his ancestry. Batman, The Dark Knight. This issue is a little bit different. We get the POV, point of view, of the Talon sent to go and kill Lincoln March. The next issue is Batman Annual 1. We're going to do origin telling of Mr. Freeze in this issue. Mr. Freeze, he breaks out of Arkham Asylum and he goes to Wayne Tower in an attempt to kill Bruce Wayne because Bruce Wayne is keeping his wife Nora from him. Needless to say, he does not succeed. The next issue, Catwoman. Catwoman is attempting to rob the Penguin of a valuable dagger that he's in possession of that has an owl on it, almost like the daggers the Talons use to kill their opponents. Only while she's there to break into his home or whatever, a Talon strikes, going after the Penguin, and she helps Penguin fight him off. And then the final story here contained in this volume, it was like a backup story, I believe, in like Batman or one of the single issues. It's all about the death of Jarvis Pennyworth, Alfred's father, and it's a major spoiler for upcoming Batman plotline. So I would advise caution here reading it. And that's it for the recap. As you can see, this is a pretty hefty volume, like 14 plus issues. So for a couple of things that I enjoyed about this volume, for select Talons that feature in these one-shot issues, we get like origins of who they were, what time period they come from, because they all go back to like 1600s, 1700s, and all these Talons, of course, are reanimated through Mr. Freeze cryogenic technology, and they're all unleashed on this one night in Gotham, so the Owls could take over the city and defeat Batman. So seeing the origins, like I said, of certain Talons really makes them have like some weight to them because they all just get defeated in the single issues. But it was nice to see, you got some Japanese ones, some European ones, right? Of course, William Cobb features heavily. Nice to see. Give the characters a little bit of character. As for something I didn't quite like about the story here, the timeline seems to be all over the place. As I was reading, I noticed that they would have like timestamps, like, oh, this part of the story takes place at like 7:15, and then the next issue would be like, oh, this story takes place like 7:35, and it goes all the way to like midnight throughout the various issues, and there would be like a lot of overlap, and I just kind of wish there was maybe, I don't know who decided like to present the issues in the order they did, because sometimes I felt like they would progress and then we get reset back, and then we like go forward, and I question the order placed in this trade, Night of the Owls, uh, and like some inconsistencies with like the art, like in the Batgirl issue, for example, her Talon unleashes a whole bunch of bombs over Gotham City that are attached to balloons. Well, in all the other stories, you don't see those bomb balloons except for in Red Hood and the Outlaws. And speaking of Red Hood and the Outlaws, in that story, Mr. Freeze takes over a couple blocks of Chinatown and he like encases them in ice. But again, you don't see that in any of the other issues. In Nightwing, for example, it's snowing. Again, in no other issues is it snowing in Gotham during this event. So it's little things like that that maybe people would give a pass on, wouldn't really notice. But I feel like for an event like this, especially with the timestamps where they're sort of breaking down, oh, this is happening here and this is happening there, it's just one of those things, right? It probably won't ruin the story for you. Didn't ruin it for me, but I couldn't help but notice, and it was sort of bothering me there, especially like with the snow, and like I thought the bombs on the balloons were cool, so I thought maybe they'd spread all over Gotham, and Red Robin wouldn't have to deal with them, but no. When Red Robin shows up, I believe it's in the Dark Knight or whatever, they're not there. Also, like wounds on the characters. Dick Grayson gets beat up by William Cobb. He's all cut up, stabbed, barely wins the fight. But then he shows up and another issue later down the line, and he's good to go, fresh costume, no wounds, no nothing. Again, it's just one of those things I guess slips through the cracks. We need Nightwing for this scene here towards midnight, even though he got his ass beat at like 9 o'clock. I guess you can make the argument he went home and changed, he got bandaged up, or you could just say, well, it's comic books, don't sweat the details. But it's just something that for like such an epic event, such an epic night, You know, you want these characters to be beat up through it all and really showing the battle scars, but I guess they're just fine at the end, huh? Finally, I want to talk about some standout issues here, and like this 14-part crossover. You know, you got some duds. Looking at you, All Star Western, but you got some standout issues. Things like Batgirl, right? Surprisingly, Red Hood and the Outlaws. I guess the Batman, issues, Batman 8 and 9, and Batman Annual 1, they're probably must reads. The Nightwing two-parter was strong here, but then you had issues like The Dark Knight, or like Batman and Robin, or Detective Comics. Yeah, I'll give it a pass. The Arkham Asylum story was pretty good, even though I will say it comes back to the whole timeline thing. We're expected to believe that Mister Freeze, he's out of Arkham somehow. I don't know if he breaks out in Detective Comics or whatever, but he's out of Arkham. Last time we saw him, he was in Arkham, but now he's out, and he takes over Chinatown, and he gets recaptured by the Red Hood, and then he gets sent back to Arkham Asylum, and he's undergoing evaluation by a doctor, just for him to break out again, and go to Wayne Tower to try to take out Bruce Wayne, and he does this all in the span of a couple of hours. It's like, I don't know, maybe, right? But it's a stretch. And I feel like little things like that, little details, you know, really sort of help to unravel things because you're going like, wait a minute. Just to be booked in Arkham Asylum is probably going to take him a few hours, right? And now he's already breaking out again, and he has this whole grand scheme of how he's going to do it. I don't know. But Mr. Freeze is a cool character, though, so I did enjoy seeing him. But yeah, not all issues in this crossover were created equal, so make of that what you will. So at the end of the day, I don't regret reading this crossover. It's my first time reading it. If you watched my Batman, The Court of Owls review, I was sort of a little lukewarm on that book. Wasn't really feeling the whole Owls thing. Reading this crossover sort of elevated my interest in the Owl event. I'm finally seeing the big picture of the whole thing. And even though this particular trade spoils what's going to come in Scott Snyder's second volume, The City of Owls, or whatever it's called. Uh, so yeah, you got to be careful for that. If you don't know all about Lincoln March and his background, then you're going to be pretty pissed off if you find out here first instead of the big reveal in Batman. But needless to say, it's a garbage reveal. But reading this with those two volumes, it really does make this story feel bigger than I thought it ever was, or whatever. Uh, I don't regret reading these tie-ins. I'll never read them again, but it really does add to the overall story. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Batman: Night of the Owls a 4 out of 5. I would say it's a must-read if you're reading the Scott Snyder stuff anyway. You might as well, but just be warned: there are spoilers here for stuff that comes later, and if you don't know that going in, you might be a little peeved. So until next time, I'll see you there.